So welcome back to the fourth and final day of this 12 session. Um, so apparently yesterday, what was suggested was we went into a bit of a deep dive about time, and then we talked about I can't remember what we talked about time, and then the illusion of time and the illusion of free will, and then separation or something like that. So what's being expressed is, or what's being suggested is this unquestionable, without any doubt, whatever is undeniable. But somehow languaging comes, apparently, like a noise in the infinite silence. In the infinite expression of silence, there are words, language, to express the inexpressible. It can't really be addressed to the individual since there's no separation, but somehow words or language can be communicated to someone or it is expressed not addressing the obvious that there's no one. For example, um, when it's expressed that you are not your thoughts, you are that, observe the mind, it's illusory because there's no thoughts, since there's no mind and no one to have a mind, then the language just becomes a background noise, basically, or kind of like an even intentional. There's an intention, seemingly, with what's being expressed because it's addressing something that doesn't really exist. So it almost reasserts that there's a mind or that you are not that. But since language is very limited, there's nothing wrong or right about this communication, that communication. But what's being expressed here is the agendaless in expressing what is already obvious. Kind of like the weather. The weather is just happening. You can't really address the weather to change. You can't really ask the cloud to watch the cloud because it implies separation. It implies a segregation or something that can be seen. It implies a witnessing or an observing. Again, there's nothing wrong or right about that, but that seems to be the pitfall when there was this trying to understand what can't be understood, but somehow by observing it, it can be processed, it can be attained. Um, it's kind of like saying that you are not the clouds. So, what's being expressed here is that this doesn't really address anyone. This doesn't really have any agenda. There's not a you that's separate, there's simply not a you. When the rug gets pulled under your feet, apparently, it's not because of the instructions. It's kind of like not saying, pull the rug under your feet. There's no duality. Saying, watching your thoughts or pull the rug under your feet to realize what is always here. So this communication, kind of like what Carolyn is saying, is like a big fuck off. It's just clearly not addressing anyone. So it's quite confronting, even it's not being addressed to anyone, it's confronting the suggestion that there's never been anyone. And that's why it's really, really frustrating because the individual wants to get something from what's being communicated, wants to attain something from what's being expressed. But let's go back into what we were talking about yesterday. Just like the illusion of time, the illusion of time, the illusion of choice, there's also the illusion of language. Again, as I mentioned, language is the noise in the infinite silence. And I want to read something that Calvin, actually, I don't know if Calvin's here. Oh, he's not here. Oh, yeah, Calvin's here. Um, where is it? That wrote to me. Then I said, can I read it? Um, Sorry, just a second. I'm going to put on my glasses. Um, Sorry about the glare. Just a second. Calvin wrote, there it is. Hi, Emerson. Attended the 3 sessions yesterday. Thank you. I love so much being with you all. I just wanted to share something that came up yesterday. He said, this is too precious and beautiful to be labeled, conceptualized, or understood. Every hypothesis, idea, or story is moving further away from the simplicity of this. They are just noise, distractions, hiding what this is or isn't. It seems that there can be a lot of concept collecting, trying to understand, trying to feel better, or get advice. That's normal. But I really love the silence between the questions. It seems more powerful to have 10 minutes silence than a long debate on some theory. Chop off our heads, Emerson. There's no Emerson actually to chop off our heads. So that's just another idea. But that's what's being expressed here, is that when there is a an expression that this is just the same as silence, it's quite different from watching your thoughts or observing the noise, observing the happening. Does that make any sense? It doesn't really make any sense, but it's not really questioning what is happening. It's a radical seeing that there's nothing happening. That along with the illusion of time, the illusion of identity or separation, the illusion of choice, is just the same fold or the same wrinkle in something that's already undeniable. Again, these words are just like silence. Sometimes, when someone says that these words are really empty, they're not really addressing anything. It doesn't really have any intention behind it. There's no agenda behind it. Because simply, there's no one. And it keeps on going back into that unknowable nothing that we've been talking about since day one. Since this is unknowable, what arises that seems to appear like words? There can be some resonance in some words. I think someone mentioned in YouTube that when the word said, I think it was Robert, that already hits. It hits, right? Sometimes words, when it's empty, when it's not saying that you are already, because it's not personalized. This is already. The weather is already. The clouds are already. The thoughts that seemingly are coming, although they're not real, are already. There's already happening. There's nothing that can be changed. There's nothing that can be edited. There's nothing that can be missed because there's nothing missing. Hi, VJ. Did you want to say something? Oh, iPhone. Hi, iPhone. Hello. Maybe that was a mistake, raising of the hand there, iPhone. Oh, no. Go ahead, please. I can't hear you, though. Oh, hi.
Emerson?
Hi.
Hi, I don't know if you were talking to me because I don't know what my name on my phone
Yes,
is. But
your iPhone, apparently.
oh, okay. Well, anyway, I wanted to say something that I so noticed yesterday.
Yeah.
So I was on a walk and I saw this really cute little dog, and he was by himself outside these people's house on a leash,
Yeah.
And I saw the dog, and really all there was a dog. Okay.
Yes.
But immediately, the mind was thinking, oh my gosh, that dog is so cute. And there are so many coyotes around that they really should not be leaving this dog so little out by himself.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, separation was created. And it was all temporary. The experience
Yes.
of the dog was temporary, and it was separate, and it was everything, and was so obviously created by
Yeah.
the mind that had
Yeah.
nothing to do with me. Like, I wasn't thinking
Yeah.
those thoughts. And it was just like, oh my gosh, anytime we are in, apparently, like, I was apparently seeing a dog,
Yeah.
but this whole story came up, and then I understood, not that I understood, but
Yeah.
that's how it is with everything.
It
Everything. Like,
is. It is. It is. It is. It's kind of funny because this really almost seemingly like elaborate illusion, right? They're seeing, there's apparent sensations, there's thoughts, there's thinking that you have a mind and everything, but it's just all coming automatically. And then languaging happens, like the words come out of your mouth and you'll say, um, or the fucking owners, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? It's just rolling automatically, and it's just not created. So everything that's appearing is uncreated because there's no
yeah,
creator. There's nothing behind it, right? But seemingly, I know you can like you hit a point there that is not coming from anywhere. That is just
it's
it's not
not.
you because there's no you. See, that's what I mean. With the languaging is that I used to get really really caught up when someone said that you are that, or you are, I am that kind of thing, right? Because the attachment that really really kind of like um almost kind of like stealth ownership of I goes underground and it becomes mine. I am this. So it goes underground and there's now an understanding and there's a landing. It's a conclusion of something that doesn't conclude. Kind of like what
Yes.
you're saying, right? It's just or with the language, and then it becomes, oh, I was talking about beliefs yesterday, right? And it becomes a belief. It becomes a belief. It becomes, let's just go with that narrative, right? Oh, I should call the Humane Society for these owners leaving their dog there. There must be abusing this dog, or maybe they left them there to get eaten by coyotes. And he goes into a panic and all this kind of stuff, and starts, doing all of this stuff, and it becomes this big narrative. It becomes an article on Facebook. You take a picture of it, and then and it becomes viral. You know what I'm saying? See how that kind of
It's
like progresses, right?
crazy. Yes. And so that little example continued to happen all day
Oh,
long, which
yeah,
was,
okay. Tell me, yeah.
oh my gosh, I went to a girls, I'm going to call myself
Yeah.
a girl Darty yesterday. So a
Oh,
daytime party. And
nice.
oh my gosh, it was hysterical. Like, the only thing that was happening was, me included, talking about things of the past, of course, because there's no other way, and then projecting the future. And
Yes.
it was so wild. Like, I was giggling inside, and I was doing it too, but
Yeah.
I knew I was doing it. And
Yeah.
it was just so funny
Yeah.
because none of what we talked about mattered.
No, no. And if you really can, like, well, there's no one paying attention, but it's seen that, it all talks in time. Someone will say, "Hey, Emers, remember when you were in high school and everything?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah." What are you doing later tonight? That kind of thing. It just doesn't really talk of anything significant. Or sometimes even, when you're talking, kind of like when you think that, you're talking about something that's really, really kind of like, you know, um, important or something. None of that is true as well. It's just
Yeah,
it's just it's just firing off. It's just this quark, like a quark kind of like appearing in and out, in and out, in and out. And it's not really there, but it seems like it's there.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
And I had such, like, this was the difference between this understanding and being in the Kundalini yoga and the spiritual,
Yeah.
was I had the best time in the fake world I was in,
Yeah.
where before, when I was really like, I'm above everything, I would have come home and been like, oh my gosh, I can't hang out with people,
Yes.
where this was just a
Yeah.
blast.
Totally, totally, totally. And it's just that's what I did before too. That I would do kriyas, especially I did Kundalini too for quite a while. I think I did the whole buffet. I'm a glutton for punishment. Um
Yeah.
So I did all of that, right? And I would do all these kriyas and everything. And when I would be with others, you know what I'm saying? And I think I did a workshop one time, right? With Kundalini people and everything. I did a workshop one time, and here I was feeling really kind of like holy, and all that kind of stuff. I think it's the holy hole or whatever, like doing a retreat and everything, and when the bubble was burst, right? Because after like the 3 days of kriyas and all this chanting and all this, really kind of
The
like
white contract.
that yes, 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 the tantric, right? So I ended up, or kind of like, doing all of this repetitious thing, all that kind of stuff. Um, and then raising my kundalini, and I would kind of like, people would talk about, yeah, I'm like, did you feel it? I'm like, I think I'm almost there, right? I talking about, right? Or
I've been
or
there.
or or you would be, you'd be kind of like talking about Yogi Bhajan and all this kind of stuff over and over and over again, and you're looking at his picture because people look at his picture, that kind of stuff, you know. And then made a long time sunshine upon you, all of this stuff. It's just this kind of like this spectacular show that's cultish. You know what I'm saying? It's just this show.
Totally.
And then so after kind of like the bubble was burst, I was kind of like, I'm like, oh, I don't have any food, so I went to Costco. And then here I was kind of like walking around, and then I encounter, I'm like, oh, there's this Kundalini people here. I'm like, hey, how's it going? We're all dressed in white. They had turbans. I didn't have a turban. And I'm like, what's your name again? They're like, oh, my name is Shiva. And what's your name again? She's like, Nirvana. And I'm like, oh. And then I walked back. I'm like, that's really weird.
That's so funny. Okay, so
So
I
everybody, before that, everybody was slower. But I thought
right,
that,
yeah,
yeah, everyone was, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. No, I was just gonna say I went to Toronto for a white tantric, and I stayed at the Kundalini ashram in
Yes.
Toronto.
Yeah. The
I mean, it was
gong.
crazy, but yes, I had the best time, and I knew I was in the game of the illusion, and I just played right with it because it was like,
Yeah.
oh,
I said this before. It's kind of like, as if this is happening, as if it's real, as if whatever, as if there's free will, as if whatever, it's as if. And it's
yeah,
also as it is,
yeah,
as
it's
if and
amazing.
as it is. Yeah.
So I thank you for the 4 day because these 4 days really like had me, whoever me is, see so much. So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah. It's
it was
it's
awesome.
it's the exhaustion of that identification, right? It's kind of like it's almost like loosened up. You're like, what the hell? I was so uptight before.
Yeah, it's great. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, there's nothing wrong or right about Kriyas and stuff. It's just what's happening. The time and money spent trying to have the Kundalini rise. Yes. Hey, Robert.
Hi, Emerson. This might be a really stupid question,
There's
but
no such thing.
I know that you don't experience any boundaries between things. Do you still experience the colors and the shapes themselves, like the appearances themselves?
There's just this, in this directness, in this directness, in this immediacy, right? There's no experiencer. So what's being seen is just what's appearing, whatever it is, right? When the labels are off, it's just what is. But language comes automatically and will say that that's a color blue shirt. But that's not coming from anywhere. So that's also a mystery of where this is, why this is happening, of how this language is appearing, and the description. And the other thing that is really really kind of like a the immediacy of this is that there is this. It's kind of like blackout when someone
Mhm.
blacks out, but the blackout has a narrator, but the narrator is seen as drunk. It's it's
That's really
it's
cool.
yeah. So it's this deep sleep, and there's this dream of intoxication. The dream of intoxication is seeing that that. But when there is kind of like seeing that it's almost like a sobriety. I think someone else calls it sobriety in what's appearing. It's kind of like, oh, okay. So even the words or the suggestions or the opinions that's appearing are just blank, are also, it's not really separate, right? The
Mm.
words, the languaging, the apparent ideas that comes in, automatically seems to separate it, but they're not really even separate. They're just illusion. They're kind of like when you're driving a car, and then your car kind of like imagine you're driving a car, you've never gone to a car wash, and all of a sudden your car ends up in a car wash and everything's clear. You're like, oh, there's no separation. Like the windshield all of a sudden doesn't have dust and all of this mud or whatever. It's just this clarity. It's probably a bad analogy, but
No, that makes sense
yeah,
to me. That
yeah,
makes sense. That's how
because
my apparent glimpses feel. It's like
yeah,
suddenly
suddenly it's a car
sparkling.
wash. You're like, oh, it's
Yeah.
sparkling clean. It's always been this way,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's not all of this. It's not all of this dirt and everything. Sometimes we get fixated on the dirt and miss the whole picture. We get fixated on the problem, like, oh, there's this crack on the glass, or there's this a lot of dirt on the glass, or the windshield wiper is blocking my view, and all of a sudden it goes to a car wash, and then it goes, oh, it's clear. Yeah,
Cool. Thanks for
yeah.
that.
Thank you.
Great answer.
Can you talk more about what's happening? See, that's what's being expressed. Is this is this unknowable nothing that seemingly the belief in separation arise. The illusion of time supports the separation. It's also an illusion. The belief of separation, the free will or choice that I have, power, and then languaging arises as well, and it's all the same illusion appearing in nothingness. So kind of like in a deep sleep, when there's these sporadic dreams that come in, there's just this whole deep sleep. The deep sleep never ends, and all of a sudden there's this dream of, like, I was shopping, or I was listening to this communication, and then that collapses and there's deep sleep again. And then so that seems to be what's happening. So what's happening doesn't really have any opposites. It's just whole, but there's an appearance of opposites. Or you can just simply say whatever this is, and it's unknowable.
But is there anything that's not happening?
Is there anything that's not
That's
happening?
not happening, actually.
Well, happening and not happening is just languaging for something that cannot be really expressed fully, right? So
Okay.
there's this talking that's happening right now, right? And there's this appearance of thoughts and ideas. Thoughts and ideas are not really even happening, because the moment that they happen, they unhappen right away. It's this permanence and this temporariness appearing seemingly simultaneously. There's this temporary kind of like, talking, silence, that kind of thing. But what's underlying is just silence.
Hmm?
So that's what permanent is, right? The peacefulness that everyone looks for is always present. The formlessness that everyone seems to can understand is always present. The space is always present, and there's
Hmm?
this formless form, or there's always silence, right? This is always silence. For this audio to appear, there's an underlying silence. But it's also silence appearing as this illusion of sound that's appearing right now. Kind of like in science, that everything is space, and everything, all the illusions or all the appearances are just illusions, if we go on a scientific thing. So it's really unknowable. Yeah.
So we're talking for nothing, basically.
Nothing, yeah. It's really nothing.
No,
Yeah.
nothing. We don't need to talk.
Okay.
I have nothing to do here.
Okay, no
Well,
worries.
I don't exist anyway, so well.
No
still-
worries.
Yeah, no, I don't. Well, I do, but no, I don't.
It
It
doesn't
doesn't
matter.
matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter actually.
Nothing
Whether
matters.
I do worry or I don't, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything at all.
Yes, that's what's being
Okay.
expressed. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank
Anita.
you.
Yeah. Uh, no worries at all. Anita, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. How are you?
um, yeah, there's sadness.
Yeah. Whereas this, there's sadness is just what's happening. But sadness, there's also this underlying peace or nothing that the sadness is arising from. Or the nothing where all of the sadness seems to appear from. And the sadness um, seems to be very heavy, you know what I'm saying? But it's not permanent. Yeah. I'm sorry that this is apparently
Oh, you
happening.
don't have to say sorry.
Yeah.
I feel so much love.
Yeah. It's just unconditional love appearing as sadness.
Mm.
Everything is actually unconditional love. You can also say nothing appearing as, again, languaging just appearing in what's already whole.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm enjoying your meetings very much.
Oh, thank you, Anita. Thank you. Thank you so much. There's a couple, there's one more, apparently. Thank you. We'll chat soon. I saw your email, Anita, and yes, we'll schedule one as soon as possible. Nonduality Police goes, can't even say that the last days were great because it never happened, but this hangout is awesome. Thanks for hanging out. Nonduality Police. Hey, Petra.
Hi, I just wanted to ask if Nina wants to say something because
Oh.
I love the cat. You don't even have to talk, but the cat is just an expression of
Oh,
what's
wow. Wow. Is that okay, Nina? Did I show the cat? Sorry, I should have asked you first. Wow. Oh.
He doesn't
Too
like
much
it.
too much pressure. Too much pressure. Beautiful cat. What kind of
Thank
cat is
you.
that?
It's a French breed. It's called Chartres. It's a cat which comes from the Middle East originally,
Oh, wow.
but it's a French cat. But it was the only cat at the time to be able to be allowed in monasteries and churches.
Oh, wow. So it's already enlightened.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Okay. All right. They're always enlightened.
She's
Thank
very
you.
bright.
Yeah, bigger cat, right? Seemingly. I used to have two cats. The name was Jose and Tyson.
This
So
is Misty.
Misty. So the name of the cat, my first name actually is Jose, because when I was baptized in Catholic Church, the priest said that you need a Catholic name. You can't just name your kid Emerson. So my godfather at that time, his name was Jose. So they're like, just put in Jose. But my parents didn't really want the Jose, so we took it out, in my birth certificate and in my passport. So it's just Emerson. But originally that was my Catholic name was Jose. So I gave it to my cat.
And how come? Oh, I didn't raise my hand. How come San Miguel? How did San Miguel get his name?
From a beer.
That's what I thought.
um, my a friend of mine had a dog named Molson, which is Molson Canadian, which is a Canadian beer. So San Miguel is a Filipino beer, and he's blonde, so he looks like a beer or fried chicken.
That's a great name for a dog, San Miguel.
I call him Kiki Pups though. I don't know why.
Well,
You
I
know,
do the same. I do the same with my cat. He's got his name, but then I call him all these other
I have
things.
many. I call him Moo Moops, Me Meeps, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What else do I call him? Yeah, many names. Many names.
So
But
again, this is about language and names, huh?
yeah. So the dog with many names, and there's a lot of nicknames, and seemingly he responds to all of them. I thought that he would be confused with, like a dozen names. When he does something that is not, like when he poos or when he was a kid, when he was like a puppy, I'll be like moo moops. He understand that. So that's his name that can, like, he's in trouble. Moo moops, where are you? Yeah,
Yeah, it's not about the words, it's the energy, eh?
the energy. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Again,
I
going
really,
back. Oh, sorry.
I don't. I was just gonna say, I don't think my cat cares what I call him, but it's the tone of the voice, I think. Yeah.
It's always when we're going to eat, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Right.
I have actually a question here that someone asked me in regards to this is not about languaging, but she asked me if I could talk about it. Can you talk about us about the economy and how losing money affects people, that it doesn't to really but it doesn't have to really that nothingness is bigger than owning stuff. There's this fantasy sometimes, this narrative that happens, when a situation like inflation or poverty is happening, or and it seems to um create this story, this big story behind it. It becomes the ownership of that. It becomes, I am poor, I am this, I am that, and it keeps on projecting or thinking of something that it doesn't, that it prefers. And there's nothing wrong or right about that, but there's this expression that what's happening is what is, and there's nothing that can be done about it. um, there's no one choosing to do anything about it. So if what's happening is seemingly a lack, if it's seen as, lack and abundance are just words anyways, right? I have seen I've seen people in the Philippines that are completely, that's super happy with nothing at all. So it's just the perspective or the idea of what seems to be. It's just on the narrator. Um, so what's being expressed about is that there's already this, and it's hard to kind of like even say that, that this is already paradise when there's poverty happening. But poverty and abundance are just words again of what it is, right? So uh, a household, for example, can have no money at all. They're begging on the street. And there could be a household that's a billionaire. And the billionaire could be completely unhappy about the situation. And this household that doesn't have anything are completely, well, not completely happy, but seemingly are more happy. So again, it's just depending on the perception or on the way that the apparent character reacts to. And again, that's just all story. Or even comparing, kind of like the funny thing about comparison is I used to compare, you know what I'm saying? And that's just seemingly an automatic thing that happens. I wish I have the other person's wealth or whatever, or status or whatever that seemingly happened. When there was a seeing that there's no one here, what's comparison? Who can we compare it to? It's just an idea of separation again. I wish I have more. And I think Kane, you asked a question before about this sports guy that earns 300 million pounds a month. Like how would life change if 300 million pounds, you're getting that. Again, that's just another fantasy, right? So this seeming ideas of others is just another narrative. There are no others. There are no others. But in this apparent, existence that doesn't exist at all, as if there are others, as if there are comparisons, as if everything is happening. But when it's seen clearly that there's nothing happening, what's really the point of thinking of others' possessions or wealth or status, because there's really nothing there? Yes, no jealousy. I like the saying that comparison is the thief of joy. Can you talk about psychedelics? I think I talked about psychedelics yesterday, and um, and I'll just you can watch the recording. Actually, maybe we'll edit it. But the psychedelics are, it's just what's happening as well. There's nothing wrong or right about it, but seemingly what happens with psychedelics is seeming to escape or to find something other than this. So since this is all that there is, the attraction to psychedelics in this character, um, what for? It's just another experience. It will not get you anywhere because it's always this way. Maybe it's nice, for partying and everything like that, but there's just not an escaping here. This character used to escape a lot by doing a whole bunch of sort of things, right? When it's seen that there's nothing that can be done to escape this, it's pointless. Um, iPhone.
Yeah,
Hi.
now I know.
No, now you know the see. Oh, see the funny thing about languaging, right? See your name just became iPhone there, because the iPhone is what's appearing, but is that really iPhone there? No.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to say one thing. So you just said about somebody who asked about jealousy or whatever they asked about,
Yeah.
there being no people. So just like the dog, I apparently saw a dog,
Yeah.
but my entire experience of the dog was created. I didn't create it. So it's
Yeah.
just like people. Like I'm apparently talking to you, you're
Yeah.
apparently a person, but
Yeah.
my experience of you is being created.
Everything actually is seemingly the created uncreated, because nothing's being created. It's just an appearance, right? It's kind of like it's here but really not here. So it feels completely real, but it's also unreal. It's the unreal real that seems to be happening. As I mentioned earlier, this is like blackout. So this is deep sleep. So this is nothingness. And then there's this running show that I am seeing you, that I'm talking to you, that I'm having this, whatever seems sensations, that there's air, I can hold the glass, there's separation, um, there's taste, all of this myriad, this collection of ideas that feels completely real. This feeling of separation and this time happening. It's like 12:45 here. Um, the idea of that this is mine and this is yours. But all of that, like in a nighttime dream, the moment that it's seen, that none of that is actually happening, there's a suspension of belief. So when the suspension of belief, everything collapses. Time, separation, me, even what I'm seeing is not really seen because everything that I saw in a dream is actually burst like into nothing, right? The moment that you can have this really elaborate dream and it could be some problem. Sometimes you have a problem in a dream, right? And it feels completely real. I think a while back, I had nightmares about poverty. That I didn't have anything. That I was walking barefoot and I was begging on the street and that kind of stuff, and it was a real problem. You know what I'm saying? It was felt really really heavy. The moment that I wake up, I'm in my Egyptian sheets, and comfy bed. Everything can like evaporates. But this is also a dream. So the dream doesn't really stop. So that Egyptian sheets and this thread count or whatever, this comfy bed is also a dream.
Because as soon as you put your eyes on something, concepts about it get started. Like even a flower, you look at a
Yeah.
flower and a flower is apparently being seen, but you can't look at a flower without having a thought, which isn't real, come into play.
Yes. For example,
There's,
but what's being expressed here is that the obviousness that what's appearing are not thoughts. So what seems to be happening are beyond thoughts or thoughtless. Doesn't have any words for it. But since there is a labeler, again, it's a really flimsy illusion, right? Because I don't know if you guys are beginning to notice now that the seeming separator is the illusion, is the dream, right? So it's kind of like you're walking in a really really kind of like nice park and everything, and then you see this flower. If there is a narrator there, if the narrator is the focal point, it's kind of like, oh, I wish they would really landscape this whole thing, and you're kind of like you're kind of like commenting or critiquing on what's happening in the park. When there is just this collapse or something, when there's this seeing that everything is just happening as it is, that might rise up, but it's not held on to. So what's seen is the vibrancy, the immediacy of things. That for example, when I used to live in a really beautiful kind of like paradise like island, right? For the first half of it, because I was in deep suffering, I didn't really notice that it was a beautiful rainforest. I kind of like just escaped everything. And then after the apparent dropping away, I was looking at all of the rocks and the pebbles without any story, looking at the beautiful ocean, and I'm like, this is paradise. And then seeing all of a sudden whales jumping out, kind of like breaching, beautiful. But that was not noticed because when the identity was secured, that it was separate, it had this narrative of like, oh, when am I going to, when is this seeking going to stop? And it's not really smelling the roses. It's not
yeah, that,
seeing. It's not
that,
seeing what
yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah, that's a better way to put it than say thought, because you can't look at anything without the narrator
Yeah.
narrating.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Every
Yes.
single thing the narrator narrates.
Yes. It's just the narrating is but the narrator kind of like sometimes, you know what I'm saying, when you're kind of like, I don't know, watching Netflix or something, you're focusing on the subtitles, you know what I'm saying? That's the
Yes,
narrator.
I do that a lot.
That's the narrator. And then sometimes, it's just a nature show. There's really no story. It's just a nature
Yeah.
show. But sometimes you're kind of like you're really involved with the subtitles, and that's everything to you. You're missing
Okay.
the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay, so there were two shows that I've watched during COVID, and they both had an actual narrator.
Yes.
Like it was a funny narrator,
Yeah.
not the subtitles, but like a narrator
A
in the story.
commentary.
Yes. And
Yeah.
one was like a tennis player because her dad, who passed away, loved playing tennis. So it was like a famous tennis player. And the other was a novella, what's that called? A novella star, like a
Oh
actor.
yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Jane or something.
Jane
Yeah.
the Virgin. Yes, I
Yeah.
loved that show.
Yeah.
And I laughed while watching it because I'm like, okay, so not only is my narrator going, but I
And
get
there's
to go
another
to the
narrator. Yeah. And then if you're reading the Spanish subtitles and you're trying to understand Spanish, but with English coming in, then you're in suffering.
Yes. Okay, that's
Because
so funny.
yeah, because you're all of a sudden you're like, you're really missing the show of what's
Yeah.
happening, the funny and whatever is kind of like appearing in the show, because you're so focused on translating of what's happening with the show because you're trying to understand the language when it's already clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's totally
Yeah.
amazing.
Or you're getting caught up with what the narrator is thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Hey, Susan. How are you?
Hi,
Hi.
hey, I'm fine. Hi.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. And it is very nice to be here again.
Yeah.
So, and I'll tell you, because I have tinnitus, like ringing in my head, and it's gotten worse. And at night, sometimes when I wake up to go to a restroom or whatever and go back to bed, I can't fall asleep, and the noise. And then I got the idea, I'll listen to your recordings from previous times, and then I'll fall asleep. And so, like 5-10 minutes later, I think something like that, and I'm sound asleep. So but it's interesting too, because the recording will be playing as I'm sleeping, right? And I have the weirdest dreams, and it's like it's mixed into. It's almost like some of it come in, what is being spoken about back and forth comes into my dreams, and I mean it's so. And in my dreams, it's very obvious, or something like that. I'm like, yeah, of course. Even in a dream, I'm like, it's all emptiness, and it's just very obvious in my dreams. But then I'll wake up in the morning, and then it's not obvious anymore. But so, but thank you so much for making me go sleep. But I don't know, I think it's also because I really enjoy listening to it, and I want to, and then I'll fall asleep. But if I'm listening to something that I'm not interested in, I'll probably just be bothered in my head about the noise, so it's just very interesting. So I thought I wanted you to let you know that.
Thank you, Susan. I used to do the same. I think I've said this many times as well, that I used to thinking that I would get it in my subconsciously. If I can't get it while I'm while I'm listening to it live or something, maybe if I listen to it when I'm sleeping, then I'll wake up enlightened or something. So in the morning I would like wake up. I'm like, oh yes, no. Because there's this silence, right? There's this silence. You're like, and then the separation, this illusion of separation, that I am here. Am I the moment that the question says, "Am I enlightened?" Done, or it's back into separation already, because the I, the moment that the I appears, the moment that the ownership appears into something that can't be owned, then it becomes this separateness.
Yeah.
So if you notice, when you wake up, there's this brief momentary silence, right?
Mhm.
It's kind of like you're just waking up. You're like, oh, and all of a sudden, the thoughts
Yeah.
come in, apparent thoughts, and it's just this suggestions again, right? It's kind of like an app, like a Siri app. Good morning, Susan. Today you're going to do more seeking. and that kind of thing. And it's just a
Yeah.
suggestion. So that app, when it's believed, then you think that's you when there's no you. And today,
Yeah.
Susan, you're going to come into Emerson's meeting, that kind of thing. Hopefully, you'll find liberation, that kind of thing. And then
Yeah.
there's other sinister voice that will say that you will never get it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And all of those voices are just this seeming kind of like illusions that are appearing coming out of nowhere. It's really
Mm.
nothing. It's really silence. It's all silence. See, what you're seemingly looking for is even when these voices or this apparent, thoughts or whatever that are illusory, they're also silence. When
Yeah.
I had tinnitus, I thought that the ringing of the ear was a sign that I was getting enlightened.
Oh, so yours went away, huh? Like,
There's just this peacefulness, right? Just this peacefulness. It's just this
Mm.
peacefulness in everything that's seen, heard, felt, because there's no experiencer anymore. So it's almost like neutral.
Mm. Yeah. So in the daytime, it doesn't bother me as much because I'm distracted by everything in life and noises and such, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's when it's quiet, it's really, can be challenging.
Yeah.
But anyways, who is it to be challenging for? And
Yeah.
and I know all that. But you know what you talked about when you wake up in the morning, and it's like, oh, you're back, and I actually feel it in a way in the whole body, kind of.
Yeah.
It is like, it's almost like a little, you're cranked. It is some kind of energetic contraction, like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's that, right? I can kind of feel it, right?
Yeah.
And it is, a lot of it is, seems like it's the thoughts and a habit, and some energy. Yeah. So that's also why I get, you can, it doesn't matter how well you understand things or whatever.
No, yeah,
It does not matter. It is that contraction, whatever that is. And what can you do?
Yeah. Someone actually was telling me, I had a one-on-one with someone that had an apparent, falling away. And the way that she described it was quite fascinating. She said there's this felt sense of separation, but there's also this, not really an opposite to that one, but also there's also this peacefulness that nothing is separated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it,
So that's
it
the silence, right? There's felt sense that, there's this, because when you're sitting in a chair, there's gravity, there's talking happening. So there's this separation, this felt sense, but it's almost kind of like it's and then at the same time there's this feeling, or there's this, I can't remember, maybe I should release that video. It's beautiful. There's this nothing, there's this resonance that nothing is ever separated. And that resonance is the permanence, that is eternal. It's infinite. It doesn't have any end, right? So what you're talking about of this kind of like a, in deep sleep, that's always there. And in dreaming seems to be kind of like, and all is an illusion, right? The nighttime dream, in this dream, this is like a dream here, is all an illusion as well. No one is awake, no one went to bed. So in the night dream, it seems shorter and more fluid. Like you can leap on buildings, there's a freedom to it. And this apparent daytime dream, this is dreaming, there seems to be a bit more contractedness and length, it's longer. But all of that is an illusion as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
And somewhere I see that, and it's also, it's, like talking about words, language.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, who cares what we say about things? So it's just what is.
Yeah.
We can call it what we want, we can interpret
But
however we want, but it's just what is.
yeah, it's just what it is. But there's also this energetic kind of like thing of addressing. If it's addressing someone in this communication anyway, right? Languaging is just language. What was being pointed out earlier in this communication, when there is this boundlessness, right, that is not addressing anyone, then it's actually it's I don't want to say reflecting, but it's exposing that this is just boundless. But when there's this contractedness in languaging something, although it's just languaging, right? There's a felt sense of contraction or something that needs to be done. Does that make any sense? For
Yeah, yeah.
example,
So because
if I tell you watch your thoughts, you know what I'm saying, and abide in this and all that kind of stuff, then it's coming into another narrative, although it's just languaging, but there is almost like a charge to it, you know, or kind of like a there's something that I need to go, so it's supporting the illusion. So this one is almost gonna like, it's gonna like seeing through the illusion that there's nothing happening. The other one is engaged in the illusion, although it's just languaging.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so you could say that
That's why you can't
they're-
stop listening to this, because
yeah,
it's transparent.
yeah.
Yeah.
But also, you know, as a kid, I remember always just playing and being fully engaged in whatever I was doing as it was happening, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, what is all this talking? Why talk? You know,
Yeah.
why talk so much? What's that about? That's boring. You know,
Yeah.
nothing is, you know, you just blah blah blah. So, but then as you get older, you get it. You know, it's like you stop playing, everybody else stop playing, and you're supposed to,
It's
you
still
know,
play.
sit
It's still
on.
play because even growing up is just playing of growing up. It's all play still. This is still childlike. This is still innocence. So that's what's forgotten
Yeah,
sometimes, right? Is that this is still innocent. This is still pure. Whatever's seems, it's just that the player forgot that it's a play. That's why there's this.
yeah, but in a way, isn't it kind of boring just to play talking all day? You know, you may be in an office or you may be work, you know, but a lot of time all we do is like talking. You
when
know,
it's when it's seen that it's play, it's never boring.
right. Not- but
when the
in,
seriousness
sometimes,
when the seriousness is there, it can get really kind of like, oh, I don't want to do this and everything. But when it's seen that it's all play, it's never boring. And that's why I can talk for hours. I think I've been talking for the past 4 days now for like, I
yeah,
don't know how long.
and
and I
I
and I
really,
and I still do one-on-ones, you know, after and before. It's kind of funny. I'm like, what is happening?
yeah, but and you're very interesting to listen to. That's, you know, it really, and so yeah, you can keep talking. I really enjoy it very much. So it's, of course, it's not all talking. That's a lot. But I was thinking, you know, sometimes when you can be with a person and it just feels like that person is really there, and it just feels like with or without words. But there's something about that presence where you just
Yeah,
you could call it love or availability or
yeah,
whatever, but
it's
it's
this
like,
engagement, right? That it's just the words that doesn't even matter anymore, and there's a lot of laughter, and there's just this. It's basically emptiness. You know what I'm saying? It's just this whole emptiness. Is that what you're talking about? It's kind of like when you words doesn't really even matter. For example, when you're talking to someone and you're really engaged, kind of like, especially when you're in love with someone, you know, saying, in a relationship, they can be talking bullshit to you and everything, but it feels wonderful, right? Because there's this wholeness and everything, and there's no judgment because there's this newness still. It's like a child meeting a child, right? This innocence meeting innocence, and there's this openness. But the moment that the narrative starts to happen and say that maybe she's this or that, or maybe he's this way or that, then the contraction happens and the play is done. Then it's
yeah,
seriousness happening.
right, yes, exactly. And but it's that contraction of always going into a narrative, you know, if it, because it seems like the other is also happening where there's just that full presence, or where you just, so, you know, like you were talking about how wonderful with the rocks and the trees
Yeah.
now when you were not seeking. And so it all happens every day, it seems like, but it just seems like there's so much direction towards the narrative all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, that's what's being expressed here. There seems to be a you know, kind of like a, because it's heavy. The light is you know, the lightness of kind of like, you know, everything that appearing all at once, this beautiful kind of like stunning kind of like clarity of what seems to be happening and not happening at the same time is missed out. So what's held on to is that, oh, you know what I'm saying, I hope this person, you know, would you know, talk to me, or I wish that I didn't say that. So it's caught up in the storyline, right, of this illusion. It's mesmerized. It's in fantasy mode, or it's wishing for something like, I wish I have more money. I wish that I, you know, you know, I wish people did not think of me that way. So it's thinking in fantasy, but the fantasy is heavy.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
heavy. It's contracted. It feels
Yeah.
completely real. So it's stuck in that feeling of I am separate. So there's this I think we were talking about it with Tej yesterday, that there is this underlying separation, that separation. It believes it. So it's and then all of that stems everything. The all of this narrative, it's kind of like, this root of separation, these branches of illusion, of jealousy, attraction, abandonment, all of kind of stuff is really heavy, but it's really nothing
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah, I know but it is a very bodily felt thing. It's almost like a heartbreak, that
Yeah.
contraction. It's I don't, but anyways, it is what it is, kind of thing. And if the
It is what it
contraction
is,
goes
yeah.
away, it goes away. And if it
Yeah.
doesn't, it doesn't, kind of.
See, we're so caught up in using words, since we're talking about languaging and what contraction is and everything. When you go outside, you know what I'm saying, we put words in the weather and everything, but the cloud doesn't name it contraction. It's just heavy clouds. You know what I'm saying? It's just whatever is happening. It's just weather. So what seems to be happening, there's no outside and inside. It's just like weather.
Yeah, yeah,
So this year it
yeah,
seems really stormy. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
There's a
yeah.
lot of rain. There's a lot of hail. There's thunderstorm. There's hurricanes. All that kind of stuff. And then
Mm,
sometimes it's really sunny.
yeah.
Yeah.
And even saying what I just said about, oh yeah, there's this contraction stuff. That's a story I'm making out.
Yeah.
It's not even there,
No.
whatever.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
So again, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, thank you,
Thank you,
Emerson.
Susan. Thank you, Susan.
Yeah.
I have Catherine. Hey, Catherine. Hello.
Hello, hi.
Hello. Hi.
Right. I'm so loving this. Yeah, I missed a lot this weekend. Yeah, it's funny, all the words and all the explanation that are given. It's a bit like acid, and everything dissolves in it. Any trying to understand it, just it can't land on anything,
No.
and
Yeah.
it's or like an earthquake, and every time you sort of think, oh, it's already gone. The earthquake
Yeah.
has already shifted, and it just there's no landing at all.
No. It's this infinitely changing changelessness.
Yeah.
It's always changing, but it doesn't land because it's infinite.
Yeah.
This is infinity.
And there's no comprehension, and yet it's so beautiful. It's just it's almost like looking at the stars, and when you're a child,
Oh.
it's the wonder, and it's magical. And yeah, it's funny when we're talking about comparison,
Yeah.
because that's been bugging. There's certain things that get triggered.
Yeah,
That I
because
get.
again, that's
Yeah.
the original idea, that there's separation. So that's when comparison happened, right? But any idea, you know what I'm saying, that root idea of separation is really an illusion. And it feels completely real because there's as if there's others, as if there's but in a dream at
Yes.
night, when a dream at night, there could be, hundreds of characters in the dream. You can be talking, you can be on the streets. The moment that there's awakeness that happens, everything that in a dream collapses, that it's nothing. So there's no you, there's no others, there's no time, there's no meaning, there's no purpose, just this lucidity and this ever flowingness of this emptiness that's really still. This infinite flowing is really still.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, just amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. Yes, iPhone. That's how it was at the party I was at yesterday. Conversation was not boring because it's just this flowing. It's just this flowing. It's like I speaking about this is, I know this is just a story and it's just a narrative. It's like being in love for no reason at all. It talks about nothing. It doesn't. It's empty. There's no agenda. And then when the agenda usually happens, you know what I'm saying? For example, I was talking about, you know, when you have this seeming connection with someone, when there's this friendship or whatever, it's kind of like, you know, when then there's this idea of separation, then it goes into comparisons or doubt or all that kind of stuff. And that's when people usually, the honeymoon is over in relationships, in whatever that seems to happen. And it's usually just a suggestion of language and thoughts that does not even really exist. So, okay. Can I ask you about what another speaker said, that this is the story without a story? A story without a story is just another story, though, isn't it? See, when it lands somewhere, right? When it comes in a conclusion, that's what it's being expressed here, that this doesn't have any kind of authority or something. It doesn't land. Kind of like what Catherine was saying. It's just this seeing. Understanding and non-understanding happens, but this has nothing to do with it. Yeah. Would you agree? Absolutely, yeah. This is actually the absence of thoughts, the absence of understanding, the absence, misunderstanding and non-understanding and understanding is it's just understanding. Kind of like the story without a story is just another story. So everything is cyclical. Everything is this in this never-ending loop. So what's being expressed here is the absence, the silence, the experience without an experiencer, without any words. It's the unthinkable, the unquestionable. I like the unquestionable. The obvious. The obvious is that there's always space, there's always emptiness, there's always infinity, there's always silence. Esther. Hi, Esther.
Hi.
Hi.
So I just want to share a silly story.
Yes, for sure. Go
which
ahead,
is like
please.
the crown jewel of my
Yes.
childhood awakening story.
Yeah.
Clearly, it wasn't. I mean, it didn't happen, did it? So yeah, when I was around 7, I was in school and I just like spontaneously like fell out of myself.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I mean, yeah, everything, like, it was just, I wasn't me. I was like, I totally disidentified from like everything, like my body and my mind, the whole package was like, what?
Yeah.
I'm pretending to be this human. Oh my God, oh my God.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, it didn't obviously like, well, yeah. So like, it wasn't like full on, because
Yeah.
there was still a sense of me, and that was terrified.
Yes.
And like, so I was just like, oh my God, like, you know, trying to grasp into something. And I remember my friend Christy was next to me, and I was like, okay, Christy is real. She's a human. Christy is real. She's a real human. I'm real as well. And then I like convinced myself, and I kind of shrunk back in myself. I mean, turns out Christy wasn't real, so so yeah, jokes on me. I don't know. And yeah, it's just, I guess. And then after that, like this happened like a couple times as a kid, and then later as I guess as a teenager, I was introduced to spirituality, and then I kind of started to understand what had happened, and then it was more of like a seeking that so-called experience or whatever. And yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I don't know. It's like, so I on one level I understand what you're talking about, but at the
Yeah.
same time I just have this complete like story of like, so I
Yeah.
expanded and then shrunk back in, and like I like and like now I'm just like in a bubble and trying to like expand again, and
Yes.
I don't know.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, though. That's
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Um, it's kind of funny because I just, there's this. I'll share it with you. It's kind of like with a kid, when someone has an imaginary friend.
Yeah.
Everyone is an imaginary friend, and you're also an imaginary friend to an imaginary friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it feels completely real.
Yeah, it does. It does.
That's
Yeah,
why
I'm just,
even the imaginary friend when a kid, I remember, I think it was a cousin or something, can't remember who it was, but they really believed that the imaginary friend was completely real. They will pull up a chair, and it's just this, or my brother when he's playing when he's a little kid, he had this scenario of, he had this toy soldiers, and he would have, all of this stuff, and he would get completely caught up in it, right? The imaginary.
yeah.
So this is kind of like playing that there is a forgetfulness, that there is a play happening, but there's not even a forgetfulness because there's no time. So it's just play, apparently happening, a play of stillness
Yeah. But
and
it's like I
movement.
still want to like I mean, I hear you, but like that's just I still just I can't not feel, I don't know, like
Yeah, because this can't be understood really, or even misunderstood, as Dario was saying. It's beautiful because it's not even in it doesn't even appear in thoughts. The moment
mm,
that thoughts appear or an idea appears of what this is, it obscures it, it distorts it. A moment
mm,
that the imagination happens, everything is imagination. Then it creates this muddy windshield. You know what I'm saying? That that really needs to go to a car wash,
yeah,
so they can
and I'm like
see.
I'm just trying to like wash that windshield ever since.
But you
And I guess
can't
that's what
because
muddies
you're
it
not
up for.
driving the car. See, that's the
Yeah.
problem. Is because there's
Yeah.
an idea that you're driving the car, that you can drive. You're looking for the car wash, but you don't even have a map. Really, there's
Yeah.
no car wash really, and there's really no one driving, and there's nothing, right? But an analogy is, you think that you've been driving in this car, and then you're dying to wash the car and everything, and then someone tells you that you're not even driving the car. The car is automatically happening, and there's no you driving the car. And then there's the further thing. It's a kid's car, kind of like, one of
Yeah.
those mall cars that doesn't go anywhere. And then it goes further than that. It's like, well, there's really no one driving. There's really nothing moving. It's just stillness. And it's already still. So everyone's looking for that stillness or clarity, but it's already still. And everything that seems to be appearing as muddy or whatever is also clear.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Emerson. You
Thank
are
you,
so
Esther.
lovely.
Thank you. Yes, Laura goes, this is honeymoon or perfect lover. Yeah. I like it when Tony talks about the perfect lover that can never leave. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, it was from earlier, but you know, now when I'm here, anyways, I'm uh, because the separateness is just an idea, right? That we are separate.
It's like a dream. It's like a dream.
Yeah.
It's like a complete dream that feels completely real, that smells real. All that kind of stuff. That's a nighttime dream. It's this elaborate illusion. It's really flimsy at the same time. It doesn't. It's really nothing. And it's not about getting rid of it. It's just seeing. It's kind of like seeing through that this is a dream of separation. It's like being lucid. It's kind of like there's this kind of like, oh, it's not an understanding. It's not even a misunderstanding. It's not even an idea or not an idea. It's just this when there are no thoughts, when there's this silence that's happening, it's very obvious, right? That the separation, the chatter, all of that is like it's like a it's like a TV show that you forgot to turn off at night that's running in silence when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
Sometimes you fall asleep and there's TV shows, and then you wake up at 4 o'clock. Oh, that's a running commentary. It's not taken seriously anymore because that deep sleep that seems to be happening is almost kind of like what's it's just what is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, you have thoughts just happen a lot.
It's not
Thoughts.
even it's not even seen as thoughts here anymore. Those are just labeling. It's just whatever, right? So I can
Yeah.
I can actually say that there's no thoughts. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just what it is, but there's nothing to change or anything
Yeah.
because there's no one to change it. It's just like you're talking about weather. I like that analogy too. It's
Yeah.
just weather happening, whatever it is, thoughts, emotions, or whatever we name it. Yeah.
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 Thank you. Thank you.
I'll lower my hand now. I'll make
Okay.
sure.
We have 5 minutes left, but we have another 90-minute sessions at the end of this. Oh, you has a question here, sorry. Would you say that if the illusion is seen through, it would be impossible to play mind games? Imagine 8 billion characters incapable of playing mind games. Where actually there's no 8 billion people. There's actually really no mind games. Because there's no others. There's this perception or there's this illusion that there's a mind game going back and forth, but there's actually no going back and forth. This is just wholeness. I used to think that. I used to kind of like um, have enemies and all that kind of stuff like that, right? Or not even thinking, but when it's seen that the plot twist that there are no enemies and there's also no friends, that there's no relationships, it's quite a shock, but it's also comforting that this is just a play. It's like a play of lights or something that's happening. It's like an empty stage of nothing, and all of these characters are also nothing. Kind of like that meme that I showed, that when you pull out the mask, it's really nothing. Nothing's there. The one that's pulling the mask and the one that's being unmasked is nothing. Oh, thank you, you. Dennis. Hi, Dennis.
Hi, Emerson.
Hi.
I recall, I think you have stated once it's been seen directly.
Yes.
There's no going back.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I keep having all these little glimpses that have taken place. I think it's been seen. I mean, I can't say anything about it other than I think it was seen.
Yeah. Well, I'll
And
I'll use
here
the
I am.
I'll use the analogy of the tiger. You know, the head is caught in a tiger's mouth. It's already dead. There's just this recurring nightmare that it's still here. It's already dead. It's already
Well, it
dead.
never was alive to begin with, was it?
That's right. Yeah. It's already dead.
So all I'm
It's
playing is
already
an illusion.
it's already
There's no
being
way out
seen.
of the illusion.
Yeah, it's being already seen through, that there's separation, that there's nothing that can be done about it. Even the idea that something can be done about it is an illusion. So that's
Oh,
already seen through. Yeah. There's just this apparent narrative that's resisting, that it's already seeing through.
so
This is
what's playing
already
out is just a habitual pattern of
It's like a
me.
recurring nightmare that this is real.
Yeah, that
It's
accurately
already deep
describes
sleep
it.
is what I'm trying to express as well. It's already deep sleep. But there's this recurring nightmare that keeps on believe that it's completely real. Although that recurring nightmare keeps on ending because there's glimpses.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, well done. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Yes, it's futile, David. Yeah. There's nowhere to go because there's no one that can go anywhere. It's always still. There's this illusion of movement, but this is always still. Hi, Petra.
Hi, why is the me so serious about everything so real? It would be enough just
It
to
goes
be.
back into that this idea that there's separation, right? So when there's separation, it
Yeah,
thinks
this
it's separate, and it thinks it's whatever branches out from that separation, seriousness, pain, all that kind of stuff, is seen as a result of separation, and it keeps on going back into wholeness so that it can end the seriousness or the pain or the suffering. But what it doesn't see is that the separation is just an illusion. It's always been whole all this time.
Yeah, it's like with Dennis. Sometimes it's seen and sometimes it comes back so
It's
strongly.
always it's
Wow,
always see,
it's
that's the
always
thing. It's always seen, but there is
yeah.
this narrative about what is seen, and
Mm,
um and then the narrative again. You know what is the seeing? Basically, is the seeing that doesn't have any thoughts. But you
mhm.
can't, the seeing that, and it's always there. It's always there when you're doing something that you love. There's always this seeing. It's kind of like when you're really engaged in something. Um, Sometimes I like sometimes when you feel like cleaning and you're really engaged in the cleaning, there's no Petra there. It's just cleaning
Mhm.
happening. Yeah.
Mhm.
Or when I'm really enjoying a meal, you know what I'm saying? When someone's enjoying a meal, when you see a kid kind of like really really enjoying their meal, there's no one eating. It's just eating happening. Thank you, Petra. Well, thank you so much, everyone. There's a 30-minute break. I'm not going to close out the room. You guys can stay and do a breakout room. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll be back in. I'll be giving out certificates of nothing at the end. I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Emerson.
Thanks,
Thank
Emerson.
you.
Emerson.
Free rides in the kiddie car.
Thank you,
True.
Emerson.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Love
Thank you.
you.
We'll see you in 30 minutes. Bye.
Bye. Vouchers for car wash.